Probably one of the most troubling issues we've got with the van is that when we try to start it, the preheat doesn't always come on. It requires a little bit of flicking of the key to get it to come on, and the van won't start without the preheat coming on. So that's always the thing that makes me the most nervous, that we're going to get stuck somewhere, is that will finally stop responding to my little flicking of the key to get it to come on. I'll try and show you what I mean. So obviously what we're looking for is that light to glow up orange to tell us that the preheat is on. And of course it's turned up perfect first time, as it would, but sometimes it doesn't, and we have to flick it backwards and forwards to get it to come on. So I'll fire her up. You can see that stays on for quite some time before it goes off. It takes a little bit of heating up, obviously. I'll maybe turn the wipers off, don't need them on. And any time now, there we go. And we're running. Of course that's fine if that's what happens, but yeah, see, that's what happens sometimes. Yeah, like that. And you have to flick the key to get that preheat light to come on. Now it's doing it every time. Except then. Yeah, now it's not doing it, so to flick the key to get it to come on. So I think that is quite likely somewhere in the ignition switch. Well, you get the idea. Anyhow, I've been on the internet again, and I've got a new ignition switch and key from Coastal Motorhomes. It looks like it's right. It's got the right sort of key. Hopefully it won't be too difficult to connect up if it's just on a little plug like that. The most difficult thing, I should imagine, will be sorting out these shear off bolts and undoing the old ones. Anyhow, let's have a look and see how we get on. Well, to get to the ignition switch, it seems sensible that this steering column cover's got to come off, and to get that off it seems likely we have to take this cap off first, because it bridges the two halves of the steering column casing. So let's get that off to start off with. Always keep the little screws safe if you possibly can. Well, that looks quite promising already. Look, that looks very similar to the new part we've got, at least, which is certainly a good sign. Well, I think next thing is to take these screws out. Don't lose the little washers. They're the little clips with the threaded thing on the back, so we need to make sure they're wedged in when we put it back together. Look at it, that could be tricky. Some more screws up here. Seat's back as about as far as it will go. Now, this is definitely not a comfortable position to work in. Trying to see up there. Hey, dropped my screwdriver on you nearly. There we go. One more little screw in there. This really is not very comfortable at all. That's it. All the screws. So, I'd suggest. Have you lost that screw? There it is. Right. Keep all these screws together in that plastic tray. May go and get a plastic tray from the kitchen to keep these screws in, because I can definitely see I'm going to have a problem. Oh, that wasn't very comfortable at all working down there, very cramped. Dear oh dear. And when taking the bottom of the steering column off, the top just comes off like that. And you can see these wires running from the ignition switch come round the top here, and there, that white connector there is hopefully the same connector that we need to connect up our new switch. Right, let me get that out so we can have a proper look at it. And there it is. Well, as I said before I take any connection apart like this, I like to take a photo of it, or a couple of photos of it, just so I can make sure and remind myself what it looked like before I started fiddling about with it and mucking it all up. Well, now that's all separated okay. That plug will only go in one way anyway, so I figure it'd be a good idea to try this new switch just on that plug, just to make sure everything works as I expect it to, before I start taking stuff to bits any further. I tell you what, it's this preheat light we're looking at to be reliable. Let's see what happens. Well, that came on alright. And again. And again. And again. And again. Right, let's see if it'll actually start the van. Of course, you can't drive like this because it wouldn't take the steering lock off, so don't try and test drive it with your new ignition lock like this. That would be a very bad idea. You'd probably just end up in that hedge over there. Well, you wouldn't, because you'd be doing it somewhere else. I'd end up in that hedge over there. Preheat on this takes a long while to go off. There we go. Well, that's good enough for me. Yeah, pretty happy with that. And it turns off too. What could be better? Right, now I've got to get that old ignition lock off. That could be the hardest bit, I suspect. Yeah, getting those shear bolts undone is going to be the trickiest part of this, I think. There's various videos on YouTube showing different techniques. They all revolve around a similar thing, which is cutting some sort of grip into the head of the bolt so that you can knock it round. I remember when I was much younger, I had a Triumph Dolomite. We actually lost the keys to it on the beach, and the AA man who come out did it by hammering a centre punch in and round. So I'm going to try that first, see how that works. Now, if you're not sure what I'm going on about, these are the bolts on the new ignition switch. You can see they neck right down there, so as you tighten them up, that bit shears off, so it's not easy to steal the van by just undoing the ignition switch. And you can see there's the heads of the, there's the heads of the ones on the old ignition switch, the existing ignition switch, and you can see they've sheared off. So I think if I get a centre punch in there, I might be able to just ping them round like the AA man did all those years ago. Right, wish me luck. Wow, that actually seemed to work. A little bit tougher on this top one because it's harder to get to, but yeah, there we go. That's one out. Actually, what we don't want to do is damage the steering column, so let's take this pretty steady. Really, this should be coming out now. I've loosened it off. This really isn't a comfortable position to be working in. Right, well, my problem is that this bolt, although it's loose, I don't seem to be able to get it the rest of the way out. It should turn really easily. Now, part of the problem is, of course, that because I've taken this out, I should have left it a little bit tighter. What I might do, I'm going to find something else to try and get this out. So what I'm doing, just to get that last little bit out, is just tickling it round with this scriber. As I say, this is not supposed to be easy. This is a sort of security measure. It's supposed to be difficult to undo, and they are indeed difficult to undo, but that's coming. As I say, I could go and get a little Dremel tool from the garage and cut a slot in it and turn it out with a screwdriver, but I think by the time I've done that, I'm going to have this out anyway. Probably almost turn that with my fingers now. See how loose it is. Yeah, every now and again you just manage to get it in a position that it's not happy to turn in, and it suddenly goes. It really does look like it should just be up. There we go. Absolutely freezing here again today. And I think it's actually getting colder. Fantastic. There we go. That is the old steering lock off. So these are the new shear head bolts. You can see the little neck in them where when you tighten them up, that snaps off. And just for comparison, there is the snapped off one on the old steering lock. Right, let's get this sorted out. That tucks back under there. And that wire lays along there. So this is the little bit that comes out to lock the steering. Get that lined up. See the groove in the steering column there. That lined up there. The other end goes on there. And I'll just put these bolts in finger tight for the moment. Because I want to try it out before I actually torque them up and snap the heads off. Because if anything's wrong, I've got a chance of taking it off again. Whereas once I've snapped these off, well, I'll get it off again. As you saw, I've got the first one off, but I'd then have to get new snap-off bolts, or put ordinary bolts in, I suppose. But obviously, you want the right thing, really. There we go. Right, where's our new keys? So at the moment, the steering's locked. I can't turn the wheel. The steering's unlocked. Oh, and the wipers have come on. Now, that's interesting. There we go. Let's wait for the preheat light to go off. Any moment now, the preheat light will go off. Come on! Dear oh dear. It does take a terribly long time. It is very cold today though. I don't know if that actually makes a difference, but it is very cold today. There she goes. Oh dear, bit of vibration there. You fell out of your camera mount thing. Right, well, I'm happy. I'll take this blue protective coating off if I can. Come on. I need a bit of swading to get that off. Because it's so cold, it's difficult to grab anything with your fingers. I've had to put these gloves on because it really is bitter out there today. That's the Beast from the East Part 2, I think. Right. Well, this isn't coming off. Yeah, this is harder than getting them bolts undone. Come on. Anyway, that'll do for the moment. Let's tighten these shear head nuts up. You get a ring spanner for this. They are 13mm. Okay, that's one. And there's the other. So these bits here, just throw away now. Yeah, well, now it's just a matter of putting the plastic bits back on. Easier to get most of these started before you do them all the way up. This is a little bit tricky. Be easier if there was a little bit more room, I suppose. I am actually going to do this one most of the way up. Ah. Excellent. Well, I'm very pleased about that because I think if we'd persisted, sooner or later we wouldn't have been able to start the van because that ignition switch would have completely failed. Now, we are going to have to keep the old key because obviously we haven't changed the door locks as well. I guess it might be possible to still get matching sets of door locks and ignition keys, but I'm not too concerned about that. So we've now got a spare key and we've got a separate ignition to door key. But as I say, I don't think we'll worry too much about that. Of course, it's a bit of a struggle to get it on the key ring. Ah, I will put it on this little key ring. I'll sort that out in a minute. Anyway, success! Replacing the ignition barrel. Now go away with confidence that we can start the van and the preheat will work. Fantastic. Well, that's all for now. If you enjoyed it, press like. Subscribe if you want to see some more. And ring the bell to be notified when we upload something new.